Welcome to Season 2 of AirgunWebTV, where we're going to get into a lot more airgun reviews with airgun expert Rick Utzler and travel to new hunting locations with the airgun scout Cecil Bays. We've even brought in a new guy, Aaron the Barbarian, to get in on all the action. Now 2016 is going to be a great year. We're going to look at some great new air guns and get in a lot more hunting too. So join us here on AirgunWebTV, where we're going to test them, we're going to shoot them, and we're going to tell you all about them. It's a great time to be an airgunner. Hello guys, and welcome to a brand new season here of AirgunWebTV. My name is Rick Utzler.
And I'm Cecil Bays.
And we have got a ton of really cool stuff to show you this year, and we just can't wait to get started. Stay with us, we'll be right back. Well, Cecil, we just got back from SHOT Show.
Yeah, and that was exciting.
Man, we saw so many extremely cool things in and around the airgun world, and I can't wait to tell our viewers about maybe some of our favorites. What do you think?
There were quite a few favorites. I think we whittled it down to the most innovative.
Yeah, we got like a top 10, and for this episode, we're going to give you that the bottom 5, okay? So we're going to start with number 10, and I really think that the pellet manufacturers continue to step it up. They want to bring something new. They want to satisfy what users are asking for. And so we actually have a tie right there sitting at the 10th spot. We've got JSB and H&N. Now they usually go head to head with each other, but they create some great pellets, and you know that competition breeds some really great products. On the JSB side, you've got the new 30 cal polybags, and that is something I know a lot of people are looking for. On the H&N side, you've got the new 25 cal Hornets. Now these things are devastating. I had the chance to use the 22 cals when I was in Puerto Rico hunting iguanas. And let me tell you what, when you need penetration through a hard substance like an iguana's head, those Hornets do a great job. So sitting there in 10th spot, we've got the JSB 30 cals and the H&N 25 cal H&N Hornets. What do you think about that?
I think they're really great. It gives more options, especially for the 30 cal. You only pretty much only had one option for a 30 cal pellet. Now you've got something other than a dome pellet. I think it was something that was really called for, and they answered what the market wanted. That's a lot of what we've seen this year, is answering what the market was asking for.
Right. So that's a really good point. What we saw at SHOT, a lot of the innovation where it was a direct response from consumers talking to manufacturers, telling them what they want, and the manufacturers this year really brought it. One of our major supporters has been Hawke Optics.
Yeah, and they're really great supporters of air gunning by making scopes exactly for air gunners.
So we had the chance to go by and talk with Brad over at Hawke Optics, and they've got some pretty cool things going on. Now, they've been through a rebranding, and what they've done is they've taken some of their favorites for air gunners, and they had discontinued them about a year ago. Well, they've retooled those, come up with some proprietary innards to make them even more shock resistant. They've added some etched glass reticles on some pretty cost-effective scopes, and they've re-released some of their best sellers. They've got the new Airmax scope. They're bringing that back out. This is a very slick-looking, no-frills optic, and it used to have a wire reticle. Now it's got an etched glass reticle, and they're saying it's Diana-proof.
That's saying a lot right there.
It is saying a lot, and I can't wait to get our hands on some of these. And they just kept going. They brought back the Panorama, and of course they've got their new Frontier line of scopes. Now the Frontier is kind of a pricey scope, but this got some
premium line.
Right, it's got some great capabilities, and I'm very excited to see these come back into the market.
Right, and they're also bringing out the new AMX reticle.
Right.
Which is specifically made for air gunners.
Right.
And has some great options for doing your windage and your elevation.
Right, so the AMX reticle, instead of just a straight line with dots or hashes, it actually, as you go down the bottom, it's got a tree that gives you some ability to estimate. It's very, very cool, and I'm glad that they're bringing these back into the market. Again, the cool thing too for me is the price point. These are going to be very aggressively priced, so I'm pretty excited about that. That's our number 9 pick.
Well, we were also by the Umarex booth.
Right.
And what was really interesting, what they had was their new stop shock system.
Right.
And that's a recoil reduction system, and it's supposed to save your scope and also improve your accuracy with a brake barrel spring piston rifle.
Right, what most people don't realize, especially new air gunners, they go and they grab that spring gun because it's inexpensive and you get a lot of power for not a lot of money. But what you've got, the mechanics of that system creates two recoils. So you pull the trigger, it goes back into your shoulder, but you have this big heavy piston, and that slams into the compression chamber, and that rocks the gun forward. What this does is this creates a couple different issues. One, if your balance point is slightly off in between shots, then the muzzle's going to be in a different place every time the pellet leaves. So that makes shooting these a little bit tricky. That's why I have to use something called the artillery hold. What this stop shocks does is it takes the action and floats it in the stock. The stock stays still, and this little device, it actually cushions it this way, and it's got a spring, so when it goes forward, it retards the recoil going this way. So it's supposed to, the stock, you don't feel the recoil, and the rifle itself has less recoil. So when you put those together, it should improve accuracy, and it also should improve the durability of the rifle over the long term. This is a very creative way to address a big problem in the market, and they're going to be releasing it on one of their new rifles called the Throttle. This new rifle will have their gas piston, it'll have the suppressor, it'll be available in both 177 and 22, and it'll have this new stop shock system. I'm pretty excited to see how that's going to turn out for them. So for number 7, you know, Cecil, last year we were at the Gletcher booth, and boy, we seem to have sort of cut loose when we go to that booth a little bit, don't we?
They have a lot of fun stuff there.
They do.
It's really original, and that's what they go for. They go for that one-off, that kind of something that nobody else goes for, this type of design.
Yeah, you're not going to see a 1911 at the Gletcher booth.
No.
What you're going to see is a gold-plated Stechkin, something that's really out there, something you'd put in a display box or something. You know, they have some really cool stuff, and they certainly didn't disappoint this year. Last year they had that sawed-off Nagant. Remember that?
That was a really nice, really authentic
feel.
replica.
Yeah, it had a beautiful bolt action on it, and again, you know, back to the idea that manufacturers are responding to what the consumers are looking for. They came out with a full-size version, so you have a full-size Nagant rifle, bolt action, BB shooter with a working bayonet.
Yes.
This thing was really awesome, and I cannot wait to get one in here. It's got to just hang on the wall. It's just so cool.
Oh, definitely.
If it shoots anywhere near as good as the little sawed-off model, that's going to be a lot of fun for people that just like something authentic, to have a lot of fun in the front yard. That's going to be a great gun for sure.
Oh yeah, that's something you have hanging on the wall, and it's just a conversation starter.
It is.
It really
it's
is.
functional. You can go out and use it too. So that wraps it up for number 7. Let's talk about number 6, Cecil.
Number 6 has to be one of my favorites just because of a real working, powerful pistol is what this company is offering.
Right. So we've got the Ottoman, I believe is how it's pronounced. This is going to be shipped from Air Venturi / Pyramid Air. And this is basically like a 1911 sized, maybe just a fraction longer, but it's just a full power 20 foot-pounds pistol.
Yes. You can get the shorter version barrel or the longer barrel. There's a shorter air tube, a longer air tube.
Right.
You can get the 1911 style grips that have almost like a Luger cant to them.
Right.
And then also a target grip, a classic target grip. Multi-shot, and they have more products than just the pistol.
Right. Back to the pistol for a moment. I got to, hold this as you did too. It's a side lever action. It's very compact. There are a lot of airgun pistols on the market, but they're like, they're really carbines. I mean,
it's not really a pistol.
Yeah, I don't see most people like, normally they've got a carbine stock fitted to it because they're just so big. This is like a legitimate size pistol, good weight, great build quality, at least it feels like it just holding it. And that side lever action was smooth, a little rotary magazine. Cannot wait to see that come in. If it really will push that 20 foot-pounds, that's something that's very, very cool to see in the market. Yeah,
there's no pistols that I know of so far that really push that 20 foot-pounds that are a real pistol.
Not out of
pistol.
the box.
No.
Yeah. Now, Ottoman is going to have a lot of other guns too. This is going to be the new sort of high-end air guns for Air Venturi and Pyramid Air. So definitely remember that name. They got a lot more stuff coming out. But that little pistol, that gets slot 6 for us. Well, Cecil, that's going to wrap up at least the first part of our top 10. You think we got a pretty good list so far?
I think we got a pretty good list. It was really hard to actually narrow it down to 10.
It was hard.
I mean, there were so many great products that shot this year.
You spend a week there and it's hard to just come up with 10. Yeah, we could have maybe done a top 30. But anyway, that would have been too long.
Yeah, that would have just been way too much.
What we've got coming up next, we've got something very cool for the second half of this episode. I think you guys are going to like it. Stay with us. We'll be right back. So guys, this is a new segment that we have called Airgun Autopsy. What do you think, Cecil?
I think this is going to be a pretty neat thing that we're going to do. We can show, you know, what issues you can have with your air gun and some of the fixes you can do to repair them.
Or when it's just dead and you want to know why.
Yeah, that's kind of what we got right here.
Yeah, that's exactly what we got under the cloth here. Is just a gun that will not shoot no matter what we done. It ain't gonna go. And I bet you, if you've been into air guns for any length of time, you've probably had that one gun that just wouldn't shoot. And that's what we're gonna talk about today. This particular gun, I had some high hopes for it. I knew the manufacturer who was making it. They had built some good guns before, but this one, not so much.
Yeah, DOA, huh?
DOA, yeah. Let's go ahead and take a look here. Okay, there's our, there's the victim. This was a rifle made. It actually came out of Mexico, and Mendoza is the manufacturer of this gun. And I'd had some Mendoza guns before. They shot really well for me. I always really liked them. Yeah. But this one, they tried to go up in power, and I don't know quite what happened, but it just never worked. And, you know, a lot of people will get specifically like a break barrel gun, and they'll have trouble getting it to group. They can't get any accuracy, and they'll just start swapping scopes. You've talked to people like that?
Oh, definitely. Swapping scopes or just trying every pellet on the market, and it just nothing will group.
Right. So when you start having that problem, you just can't get any accuracy. Something else is going on.
Definitely.
Especially when you've tried the artillery hold, you've gone through a bunch of different pellets. What is it? And so we're going to talk about some of the things you can look at to see what really could be the problem. Now, the first thing you want to look at, Cecil, what would you look at first if you had a gun that just would not group?
Well, the first thing I'd look at is make sure all your stock screws are tight.
And that is definitely step number one. Now, this one here particularly has just Allen screws, so you would go through and get your Allen wrench and just tighten these up and see if that did it for you. When the action is not tight in the stock, it tends to slide around when the recoil is going on, and that definitely gives you some accuracy problems. My guess is those are pretty tight as a drum.
Yeah, they are. Tightening them up too much more and you're just going to
strip it out, right? So that's a little bit loose, but I can tell you that's not the problem with this gun. The other thing that can be an issue, sometimes you can have a barrel that's overboard, so the pellets don't fit quite right. That can be a problem. One of the ways you can check that is that if you take a gun like this, you can take a pellet, and I'm going to do it. I don't have my push rod here, but you can put a pellet in, push it through, and then check the pellet to see what kind of grooves you may have. If the barrel is overboard, that means the pellet's not gonna grab the lands and grooves, not gonna grab the rifling, you're not gonna get any accuracy.
You're not gonna see any marks on the pellet, you're not gonna see the rifling on your pellet.
So why don't you go ahead and clear that one down range there, Cecil.
We'll do that.
Okay, so let's just say, Cecil, that we've checked our stock screws, we've checked our barrel, that's all good. Still, no accuracy. We've done different pellets, tried the artillery hold. What's going to be the next thing we need to look at?
Well, the next thing you're going to want to look at is your barrel joint.
And that happens to be exactly what killed this rifle. The barrel joint does not lock up tight. Now, with a break barrel gun, as you can imagine, your pellet's going to go exactly where this barrel's pointing.
Exactly.
And when you can take it and wiggle it,
yeah, that's not a good sign.
That's not a good sign.
Well, and that's the reason why you see on a lot of the break barrel rifles, the sights are mounted to the barrel.
Right.
Because that's going to be the most accurate. If your rear sight is mounted to the receiver back here, your piston tube, then the barrel's always moving, but the rear sight's stationary.
And where does your scope mount?
And it mounts on your piston tube.
Yeah, right. Exactly. So if your scope's mounted here and your barrel's not in a fixed place, you're never going to get that consistent accuracy.
Exactly.
Now, when I first started, I ran into this problem. I had a Remington Genesis, and it lasted 25 shots, and then you were tightening up the barrel joint every single time. Got rid of that gun pretty quick. But it almost spoiled me completely on ever going with a break barrel again, because I thought for sure that's just never going to work. Well,
yeah, every gun's going to be just like that. It's just going to be a repeating thing, but that's not always true.
That's not the case. In fact, that is definitely not the case. We have a gun here we'll show you in a minute that locks up true every single time. It's a great gun, and it's a wonderful break barrel gun. Now,
there's several things that actually go to causing this issue, right?
Exactly. So usually what you've got in here is the barrel's going to ride in here, and you've got this groove that sets. And if it's machined properly, you know, you're not going to have any slop in here. It's going to lock up tight. Right here what we've got is we've got lateral movement already. Okay, so right now we know that this space it's just not machined well.
No, it's not match fit.
Yeah. Also, you've got the way this rifle actually closes itself up. There's a wedge here, and it's a pretty stout spring-loaded wedge, and it grabs hold of the bar. Because this is a round barrel, it doesn't really seat properly when it gets back here.
No, they did put a groove in it, but it's still not. It's not quite what you need.
It doesn't really sit super flush up against the receiver here.
Exactly.
And so when you close it, it's supposed to lock up, but it's just got this slop.
Yeah, it's just got some slop.
And there's absolutely nothing you can do about it. So let me show you a brake barrel that actually works really well. This is a Weirock. So this is a German gun. This is actually not that expensive. This is about $300 to $400. Now this is the HW50. It's a medium powered brake barrel gun. Now, if we look at the way this is machined, very, very different.
Yes.
Okay. It is extremely tight, and when you cock this, there is no movement at all. There is no give, no play. And what you've got in here, Cecil, the mechanism, you've got this wedge. It's a spring-loaded wedge, and it actually grabs an opposing wedge. So what you have, you hold that for me?
Yes.
You've got a wedge that when it locks down, it's actually constantly locked in and providing more pressure to keep that thing firmly locked in.
Exactly.
And you've also got this big flat receiver area that locks up against this. And if you notice, there's even a flat line here, and that actually locks up. So when they engineered this to come back together, it comes back true every single time.
Right, and you've got a machine fit on the sides, the tube, the joint, everything is machined to lock up together.
Yeah, and so this is done right. Now this gun I've had for quite a while, and it is always bang on the money, whether I shoot open sights or scoped. This is a 30-yard tack driver. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Safety on the side. There you go. So Cecil, cause of death?
Definitely a bad barrel joint.
Yeah, I would agree. That's what definitely killed this one.
Yeah, it's done for.
If you guys have some questions about your air gun, maybe what's causing it to have some problems, why don't you go over to our website at www.airgunwebtv.com, submit your question, and maybe we can get to that on our next Airgun Autopsy. What do you think, Cecil?
I think that this is a great way for us to show some common problems and some common fixes for these type of issues.
Well, guys, that's going to wrap up this episode of AirgunWebTV. My name is Rick Utzer with AirgunWeb.
And I'm Cecil Bays.
Thanks for watching.
AirgunWebTV would like to recognize the following sponsors. Catch our next episode when we wrap up our top 10 favorites from SHOT Show 2016 and we debut another brand new segment. So join us here on AirgunWebTV.